Shalom. First and foremost, before I get started with my lesson, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Salutations and blessings to the Akim that do this work in truth and in sincerity. And the topic of the lesson I'm going to get into is kind of just rolling through the spirit of what's on my mind. Basically, as we all know, prophecies are definitely popping, as we always mention, as we always say. The current situation with the Middle East, as well as, the topic of, sleeper cells, all of these things, all right, have basically, proven the word of the Lord to be true, and as well as the men who teach the truth, all right, his servants, all right, the hopeful elect, 144,000, all right, the word of the Lord, as we read in the scriptures, it says that the word of the Lord is tried 7 times and is pure, all right, as gold, all right. So the word of the Lord is sure. The word of the Lord is indefinite. It's going to happen. Now, whether it happens, today, tomorrow, next week, next month, all right, whatever the Lord has planned, or whenever the Lord has planned for, these certain particular prophecies to take place, they are without a doubt going to happen, and they are going to occur on the earth. And, basically the men who have been watchmen, all right, overseers of these prophecies, will preach and teach, all right, Israel, all right, and the other nations of the things to come, man. And they have been, demonized. We've been demonized, looked at as crazy, been isolated, all right, cut off, all right, from family members, all right, once friends, associates, all right, whatever the case may be. Even if you don't even tell people of the truth, there's just a separation between the elect and, the wicked, man. Our vibration, our spirit, all right, is, completely different from the rest of these people, man. Which is another thing in itself, is that, these spirits are getting irked up, all right, by the presence of your spirit, man. That's another topic in itself, which I kind of went over before, going into how, your aura, your spirit, your spiritual essence that surrounds you as an individual in this truth. When you go into certain areas, or you go to certain places, people can pick up from that, man. And that irritates their spirit. That irritates their demons. And you don't even have to necessarily tell them anything, bother them or anything. You just be about your business, and, they're just aggravated by your presence, man. They're intimidated by your presence. So, yeah, man, that's just what it is. But nevertheless, the men of the Lord, back to the topic, all right, the men of the Lord is always going to be, hated, all right, no matter what the circumstances is. Because as the scriptures say, the servant is not greater than his master. So you are expected to go through these things. All right. So you ought to count the cost, man. You know, if the Lord, all right, suffer tribulations, you're going to suffer them as well, man. No matter what type of, form they may come in, by hatred. You know what I mean? Certain things may happen to you out of the blue. You know. So, you ought to just, bear the cross. We ought to just bear the cross, should I say, because I'm just as much as in this as you are, I'm not saved, you're not saved, we're not delivered from this trial that we're in just yet. So while we're here, we have to bear these certain infirmities, man, these certain trials, these certain leaps and bounds. All right, and self-hatred and denial from the world is one of them. Being called crazy. But throughout all of that, we have, assurance in our mind because, of the purity of the scriptures. Because the scriptures are literally coming to pass. And a lot of people who have once not seen the truth, all right, or have not considered that they are now more than ever, all right, they're actually saying to themselves, all right, that, hey, man, this thing might just be in our time, all right, considering the prophecies that are happening in the earth. The rumors of war, the inflation, the sedition amongst people, all right, people being lovers of themselves, all right, the love of many of people waxing cold. All these events are spoken about in the scriptures, all right. All these things are quoted in the scriptures, man, all right, and the word of the Lord has proven over time to be 100% truth, man, all right, to come to a head, man, everything that we're seeing in the earth. So, in these last days, all right, based off, brothers doing the works, all right, putting in the work, all right, teaching on the highways and the byways, warning the people. All right, in that day, when things really start to get heavy, when the Lord really starts to put more motion, all right, on these prophecies, they are going to know that a prophet that have been among them. All right, and they're gonna feel bad about that, man. They're gonna feel guilt that they didn't, turn to the Lord or take heed to his prophets, which they, shunned and put to the side, man. Because some really evil times are coming, man. They're speaking about how, these sleeper cells, all right, or possibly, plan on the attack, sometime next month. Now, they're saying the 4th, but how anytime that a whistleblower says anything, they move the date around, all right, to a different date. So we'll just have to see, all right, how these devils have it play out, man, because that there have to be some type of traumatic event, all right, to, all right, turn the tables, as you will, of how these people operate here in Babylon the Great, so they can grip a hold of these people, man. All right, and that's what basically this devil is doing, man. He has all these executive orders signed up, all right, ready to be implemented and activated on these people, man. All right, and he wants, all right, what's going on out there in California on a broad scale throughout all of the United States. All right, troops on the ground, all right, a police state, a dictatorship, all right, a curfew of when you can go out, when you can come, when you have to be in, all right. And the goal is really to, scare the people into them having to give up their freedoms, man. That's another tactic of Esau, Edom. All right, you will have to give up, all right, your freedoms because, all right, of the situation, which is problem, reaction, solution. All right, create a problem. All right, the people react to it and beg and pray for help. And the solution, which is their ultimate agenda, is to control all people, man. Now, how this will all come into play and fall into order is yet to be seen. But we know, all right, that RFID CHIP is definitely around the corner, and they have to implement it. All right, they have to implement it. So all the ducks are lined up in the row. All right, we just have to see how the Lord, all right, has this thing fully planned out. All right, and pray to the Lord that it is sooner rather than later, man. Because to live here in this place is complete hell, man. I pray each and every day that the Lord, brings this place down, faster and faster, man, for the elect's sake. You hear and you see these Edomites with their prideful spirit, and they, laughing. You know how these Edomites get, man. You know what I mean? I was in a conference call with an Edomite today, all right, on the plantation. And the way he just brags about this and brags about this and that, he has a very high, ego, man. He has a very big ego, man. All right, and that money is a part of it, man. And when this society collapses, however the Lord has it set up, he is definitely going to be signing up, all right, to what? Receive that charagma, man, along with everybody else that is down with this beast system, man. All right, because, mind you, if you don't have that charagma, you can't pay for your bills. All right, you can't live in your house, you can't pay your insurance, you can't pay your water bill, you can't pay your electricity, you can't go into the store and purchase food, medicine, water. So the Lord is going to have to be our sole resource in these days. And we have to believe firmly that the Lord will be able to provide for us in that day. That's why the apostles are always talking about us building up our faith and staying physically, focused in these days, because it's vital and it's important. And each and every day that the Lord gives me, whatever increase the Lord gives me, you start to understand that more and more and more. All right, you understand that more and more and more that the Lord is our only plan. We don't have any other plan but the plan of the Lord. All right. The Lord speaks about, or shall I say the scriptures speak about being, all right, pilgrims. We're going to have to be like pilgrims, all right, on the earth, moving to and fro because of what? All the tribulation, all the sedition, the wars, the civil unrest. All right. The men of the Lord are going to have to rely on the Lord guiding us, all right, to these different resources that we may need: food, water, medicine, possibly. All these different things the Lord is going to provide for us in these last days if you are the elect. All right. So, These prophecies are definitely happening. All right, they're definitely coming to pass. All right, the word of the Lord has definitely proven to be sure and true. All right, and we just gotta remain to believe, and we show our belief by our faith and our works. All right, and continue to push on and endure. So, Lord willing, we continue to endure, we continue to push, and that we don't have to endure having to go through this much longer, man. So really too much didn't have a topic. This is kind of like all over the place, various topics, just something that was on my mind. Just getting off the plantation, just pretty much a ride and talk in transit. So Lord willing, this video was edifying. Again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua Ba'Shem Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Salutations and blessings to the Akim that do this work in truth and sincerity. Until the next time, Lord willing, I say Shalom.